I think it is time. Let us begin with the invocation. सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धे भवतु मे सदा वसुदेवं सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं हरि ओम कृष्ण वन्दे जगद्गुरुं I request Chitraji to give us a summary of what we saw last. We found the link and move ahead. Hari Om. Yes, please.
Hari Om. So we saw that in the previous class. We understood and learned about the Karma Yoga, and we saw that a person who is not enslaved by his mind can truly be free, and such a person can walk towards the path of realization. And when he is no longer driven by his desires, and he has conquered all of those, and detachment free state is achieved, so he's no longer in a state of dual mind. And this non dual state allows him to see the oneness with the divinity, and he also sees oneness in all. The differentiation in his mind has gone. And someone who has got this realization understands that the Vedas also reaffirm the same. And as the soul transcends the rigidity, the coating of rigidity, and all the samskaras that bind him are slowly faded, and the realization comes. Krishna emphasizes that actions have to be performed with pure intentions and absolutely no expectations of rewards or returns. So, when you are no longer motivated by the fruits of your actions, every action is performed with full excellence, and it becomes a divine action. And this can also free a person and allow him to work in a detached state, and also a detached approach, and hence freeing him from the karma bandhanas. So this also includes the good actions. Sometimes people tend to perform good actions, hoping that it gives something good in return to them when they are in distress. So that also creates some kind of binding. So Krishna emphasizes that all karmas have to be performed in such a manner. So, hence, engaging in karma yoga can free a person and also attain perfection in the actions. So, realized ones are those who know about this, and he is the one who is truly liberated, and he is able to reach the highest state of consciousness. So, these are some of the things that we saw in the previous class. Over to you, Sushrut.
Hari Om. Can you hear me? Ji. Namaste. Thank you very much, Chitraji. That was something which we saw last about Krishna saying Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam. Detachment yet excellence in works is only yoga. This is one very simple fundamental principle. If we are able to become free from expectations, I think just now Chitraji said we do some good work to somebody and we feel that may help us sometime, isn't it? At a difficult time, I've done this good work with the hope of maybe someday when I need help, I may get it. Isn't that an expectation also that binds us sometimes? Anybody? Do you agree?
Yes, it is an
It is an expectation. It's a natural expectation. We call it a human expectation. It is something which is basic. But then we have to let that go also. It's very difficult for us. But not letting it go, does it ensure anything? Just because I hold on to it, will that guarantee I will get help when I need distress, when I'm in times of distress?
no.
I personally remember one experience I had. I had this habit of giving lift to anybody, almost anybody, on the two-wheeler. It was not that I did it as a safeguard for me or something, but I was just doing it casually. I did not realize I had an expectation or something in my head. So when I got a chance to go to a particular place, the Samadhi of where I think we don't call it Samadhi also, where it was a Ramalinga Swamigal or Valalar. He had that is his place where he was last seen, and we can say he dematerialized into what they call light body. I was getting a chance to go there, and the bus dropped me quite a distance away from that sacred place. So I had to walk. I was wearing very tight jeans, and it was very uncomfortable. I thought, chalo, no problem, we'll ask. We've never asked anybody for lift so far. And I gave it to almost everybody. God will arrange for a lift for me. That was one expectation that I had. So it's already hot. So then I asked for a lift. I asked one, two, three, four, five people came. One person even mocked me and walked away, but did not, I mean, went on his bike ahead, but did not give me that lift. That created such a great irritation inside of me. But then by the time I walked and reached that place, I just had a laughter also because see that irritation was out of your expectation. So again, expectation did not ensure anything, but led to a what we can say lower quality of life experience, isn't it? Many times we do good. Damleji, my guru, says one beautiful word or beautiful phrase. Neki kar darya mein dal. Simple as that. Do good and just forget it. Where are you going to count? I have done so much good. I have done this for that. And what are you going to get in exchange for that good? A good work done selflessly and purely has no value. Nobody can purchase it. Nobody can value it. It cannot be. It is invaluable. It is priceless. So why not keep spending our whatever life moments we have doing such priceless actions without expecting return? That is the way, and that is the way of the yogis, is what Krishna is saying. Means today our subject is about how do we identify who is a sage? Because so many times we do get confused, isn't it? Sometimes we have our own standards, our own definitions of a sage. And then we see somebody and this person doesn't confirm, Arey, his daddy should be this many centimeters. The color of the robe should be this particular color. The person should speak in this particular tone. These are all outer bahya lakshanas, which sometimes we say appearances can be deceptive. My mother once got, we can say, hoodwinked into giving a donation by somebody. She said that person had such an aura and something. And after giving the donation, I was wondering why did I give it? I felt immense respect for the robes that person wore, but after the person went, I was questioning myself. Did I do right or did I not? So this question, if it is there, that means somewhere we need to go to the root and we don't need to see from the outside. So there are some lakshanas, and Krishna in this adhyaya actually tells us. But before that, he has told us this beautiful aspect of becoming free, because he says this is how the Dvaita, the Bheda between the Nara and the Narayana will disappear. The Bheda between what is sometimes we say even the Punya and Papa also Bheda is not required when you reach that higher state of consciousness. Every action taking you towards the divine, you will not. Means you say, some people say Shmashan is not an auspicious place at all, isn't it? People say inauspicious. But who is the most auspicious one? Most auspicious one. What do we call that? Most auspicious one. The word in Sanskrit is an Aradhya of so many of us. Say Shiva. Shiva is the auspicious one, and he is where? He's there only. You can find him there. What does he put around himself? He has this bhasma. Bhasma of what? Bhasma of the Sharira, which is now gone into ashes. What is inauspicious here? Which is auspicious? That transcendence has taken place. If that has taken place, you can see why it is so auspicious. So this very fact that the yogis, or you see the enlightened ones, you see Krishna says in the 51st sloka of the second adhyaya, he says, Karmajam buddhi yukta hi phalam tyaktva manishinaha janma bandha vinurmuktaha padam gacchantanamayam. Most enlightened amongst men are thus aware, and thus for the fruits they don't care. Fruits of efforts they don't care. They don't care at all. You give such a person Nobel Prize also, he says, I don't want. Sharon also was not interested in it. His works were nominated, but it was not something, it did not matter at all. So, good or bad, if I say something, when Sherwindo wrote what he wrote, he didn't care what tag people are going to put on him. You call me right wing, call extremist, call me leftist, whatever, it doesn't matter, no. Because such a person has transcended all whatever social constructs have been created. out of expectations. Many times people speak also, when you speak, you actually speak with an expectation, isn't it? The other person should think I am intelligent. The other person should feel I am like this, or the other person should do this work for me. Every action without our knowing, it has been ingrained. Expectations have been ingrained. We have our sadhana is for removing this conditioning. So we become free totally. It's something which has been happening from childhood. Teacher says good and a tick mark or a star. So for the star, I'm willing to do everything. But is it for the star that we have to learn, or is it for the knowledge? It is for knowledge. But these outer things should not become our driving factors. That is what a yogi is. That is how a yogi understands, and so the yogi is liberated. Krishna says such a person will not be disturbed. When you look at the 53rd shloka, what happens to such a person? Krishna says, श्रुति विप्रतिपन्ना ते यदा स्थास्यति निश्चला समाधा वचला बुद्धिः तदा योगम अवाप्स्यसि. When from the disturbances of all that is heard, you become steady and unperturbed, an awakened state of samadhi is then attained, and a union with the cosmic divine is obtained. Krishna is saying you will enter into the state of samadhi. This is something which sometimes people find scary also. What? मेरी समाधि हो जाएगी? What will happen with my samadhi? Or will I live a life? What is the meaning of this? Now let us see what is Krishna telling about it. But this state, he says, you become free from all the disturbances. What is a disturbance? Anything out of your comfort zone is something we call disturbance, isn't it? Anything that is moving you from your state, that is disturbance. But what if you are not going to get disturbed at all? If you go to a state, if you go into a state where everybody you care for becomes your opponents, and still you're not going to get moved on the inside. You're going because you how will you do that? When you have a strong base, when you're clear in your conscience that you have done nothing wrong. You are seeking, you are a tapasvi, you are doing sadhana, you are moving ahead on the path. Whether or not somebody says this path is useless, somebody talks something bad purposely when they know you have some kind of place where you are having a soft corner, they will attack your soft corner only. That will become this main source of creating disturbance. But when the yogi has decided, yes, this is my time, this is my moment, this is my marga, I will not be disturbed at all, no matter what, no matter what is said. Such a person becomes steady, steady as a what we can say, the hand of a surgeon. A surgeon's hand has to be steady or not for an operation. If it shakes, what's going to happen? Anartha will happen. The savior will become the murderer, isn't it? Such a big, what we can say, responsibility. And how does that happen? It is by detachment. I just recently got invited by a friend of mine for his son's first birthday. He's a surgeon. I had asked him this simple question because he's quite a well-known surgeon now in the UK, and his name is Dr. Ashwin, a colorectal surgeon. I asked him, "What is it? How do you deal with patients? Because you have to do surgery that time." Because we were looking at something in light of the Gita, and I wanted some lived experience of somebody who is practicing it. So I said, "How do you talk with the patients? How do you get these experiences?" He said, when I talk to the patients, I am completely detached from the patients. He says, he's not read the Gita in full detail, but he says, I'm getting detached. I say, what do you mean by detachment? I asked him, what do you mean by that detachment? He says, no, I talk to them. I just say, how are you? Did you eat your food? I ask the general casual questions. Don't go into anything personal. And he said, I don't even try to remember the person's face or name. I try to forget the name and face of the person. I was very surprised. Said, hey, what's the logic behind that? I know people remember faces and names also. He says, even if I remember the name, I try to forget it. I don't want to remember it. Why? He said, because if I get into the subject, he says that patient's life story or other things, if I enter into it while I'm doing an operation, that will play in my mind. I do not want that to disturb my action. I do not want my karma to be imperfect. So, isn't this a love for the patient that he is showing, which is making him appear that he is heartless and cruel? If somebody may ask, somebody may be quite, some people are good at reading whether a person is sensitive or not, whether the person is listening or not. The person will feel, what is this? This doctor is not trying to connect with me at all. This doctor doesn't care for me at all. That would be a very simple accusation to make. And yet, it is a false accusation, isn't it? Isn't that the care that is causing that one line to be drawn so that the right treatment can be given? So, this is very, very important for us also. And Krishna says here that when you become so steady, so unperturbed, irrespective of all the news, there's no good news, there is no bad news, there's only news. News allows you to get some information, to act upon it, to do Krishna's work, to do divine work, to work as an instrument of the divine. You are just going to get in more data to understand the situation. Nothing more than that. If that state is coming closer inside, Krishna says, then you are going to ultimately reach a state of samadhi. What is going to happen in the state of samadhi? That Krishna tells in the shloka. It's very interesting. In the state of samadhi, you are directly linked with that consciousness of the divine, meaning the divine's consciousness works through you. Before we go into that, I mean, what is the potential of such a connection, such a link? Anybody? You can just give your own example. How will it? I mean, everybody must have watched some movie where a man, it's a Hollywood movie, I'm not naming it for certain reasons, but this person feels he's God. So he goes on the road, he wants to change a person's clothes, he's using the energy and he's changing somebody's clothes, he's following all his whims. But I'm saying that's a picturesque or some kind of imagination of a child. Like even I think in Correspondence with Sherwindo by Dr. Nirodharan, he says when the Superman's connection is formed and a person becomes a Superman, he will be jumping off from mountain to mountain just to test the powers. Is that why we want to be connected with the divine? Or what do you think is the potential of a divine connection if we get a direct connect with the divine in our everyday life? Anybody? Means this
We are
link,
more
this.
at peace.
Yes, Umaji. Yes, ma'am.
We are more at peace. At
Okay,
peace.
that is, but that this because of the peace, the connection is going. Means it's peace. The connection is going to be a consequence of that state of absolute tranquility that you have reached. That connection will be obtained. But I'm saying, what after the connection? No more work to do, or work to be done, or how will it make a difference? Is the question, madam. After the connection is established, means because you have been so peaceful, because you have reached that highest state of peace, that link has been formed. So after that link has been formed, what is going to be the difference? Or what do you think what will be the manifestation of such a connection in the material? How
I
would
think
life
you'll
be?
do better quality work.
The quality of the work would probably. Any example of a work which will improve, Umaji? Example of anything?
I mean, even when we do something without an expectation, it can be for
Right.
a family member also. Um,
Example of action, any karma? Example, direct one.
um,
Mm.
Say, for example, you go out of your way and help a friend who is in trouble.
Okay.
Maybe somebody is fighting depression or something like that,
Okay.
and
All
you
right.
are coming
Okay.
out of your comfort zone and really helping them for maybe
Yeah.
a year or two, because something like
Okay.
depression needs support for a very long time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So you have really like dedicated your life in changing that, I mean, helping that person move to the next stage. But
Okay.
end of that,
So,
you're not expecting anything in return from that person.
ah, so you'll be a very good listener, isn't it? Like Krishna was for Arjuna. Arjuna kept talking all sorts of stuff. But you know what happens then? Because Krishna listens, he knows he's the one who is already Yogeshwara, who is already in connect with the union of the Supreme Divine. So whatever he speaks brings him major transformation in Arjuna. We know Arjuna is in depression in the first adhyaya. In the 18th adhyaya, the hero is back with full strength. So that kind of transformation, probably we might have a Krishna connection only. We might be able to bring about a transformation, and we are no more worried about our liabilities, and we are not so emotionally disturbed that we're going to jump at every little point. You'll be able to do say, even duty of a friend, maybe not as a counselor also, as a good listener. That also can make a great difference. Absolutely,
Correct.
Umaji has said, and it's so important sometimes to be a good listener also. Sometimes a simple word said at a right time. There was a time I was questioning the use of poetry completely in my life also, and I was wondering, are poems ultimately just fanciful thoughts and words which have no real grounded meaning in this fast-paced world? And I remember I just put a status update of a poem on the don't suicide or not doing suicide. And I suddenly got a reply from somebody, I am going to suicide. Because I thought I am now doer. I felt no, I am responsible for this person ending. And I was just for 2 days, 2.5 days, I was praying and I was like, sorry, God, I was just undervaluing the power of words. Please let these words have some value. I hope that person is not. I tried reaching out, that person's phone was switched off after that. 2 days I could not. I tried frantically finding some mutual friend and all. 2.5 days later, I got a message from him on another platform. Is I have thrown that number, but thanks. I remember that those words made a difference. Then I could breathe quietly. I was like, okay. But now here, why I was having a fluctuation is probably I did not have that complete state of poise. Maybe I got some inspiration, wrote something, but the poise was not yet reached. But when that
And people
poise
take
is
time to
reached,
think about it.
yeah,
That words has, they'll take time to think about what they read. It
yes,
has really
yes,
get engraved
yes.
into them.
Yes, yes. But so the thing is, if we are in such a state of poise, we don't have to worry because we are not the doers. That is important. You will not believe Arjuna asked Krishna again to tell the Gita after the Gita was over. The battle took place.
Okay.
And he said, no, I cannot tell the same Gita again. Why? He says, I am not in that connection or life. And you are also not in that. He says, Yoga Yukto. He says, I was in that state of yoga and you were in that state of receptivity. So this is a lot happens in that connection. And so we must probably aspire to be in that state because if we are in that state, we will receive. Lokmanya Tilak inside of a prison got Gita Rahasya. And inside of jail, when Lokmanya Tilak was in jail, we had a participant, isn't it? Rajiv ji, sharing about his guru, who is also one great Vibhuti, Swami Hariyarji Maharaj. He learned from Tilak Maharaj in the jail, the Gita. And that person was in the Azad Hind Fauj. And then he started Gita Dham. He's a guru for so many people. There's a temple dedicated to him, and people across the world, his Shishyas are saying, let my home become an ashram. That was the principle of his guru. And everybody is trying to take the Gita. Swami Hariyarji Maharaj is that great devotee. So how it happened? It happened there. His connection with Tilak Maharaj inside of a jail. Meaning this connection with the divine can happen anywhere, anytime, any place. There is no auspicious or inauspicious place or time or situation. Look at Arjuna's situation. Which seminar room is he in? Which great conference of thinkers has he joined? He is in this seminar of Kurukshetra. He is in this live conference only. And there he has got direct streaming from Krishna. He has connected there. So, like that, probably if we want to draw an inspiration, we can take from the Gita. Let us establish that connection with the divine, individual connection. Why do we need agents? Everywhere agents come in between. No, no, let us establish that connection directly with each individual, with the divine. So Krishna says a samadhi state is going to be reached, meaning no more are you going to get depressed, no more are you going to get upset outer circumstances. things could have been better, things should have been this way. Most of the time, life is full of regrets, isn't it? People carry these regrets over their heads so much that their little moments are gone. The joy and bliss of life is lost, even if everything is beautiful, everything is lovely. Nothing appears lovely because it's a state of the mind. Like Damliji always says, Man changa to hath mein ganga. If your mind is good, then even just ordinary jala will become pavitra like the Ganga because there the divine hands will have. Or if there is a beautiful prayer. Ayam me hasto bhagavana, ayam me bhagavattaraha, ayam me vishwa bheshajo, ayam shivabhimarshanaha. This my hand is auspicious. This my other hand is even more auspicious because they can solve all the problems of the world. They can cure all the ills and diseases of the world. Why? Because these are the hands that are used for worshipping the divine or the auspicious one or Shiva. Means imagine if every Vaidya does this prayer, every doctor does the prayer and concentratedly does the action. What will happen there? It will have great transformation, great consciousness, great awakening inside of the person. The person's personal aspects will be kept aside. So, as Umaji gave one example, anybody would like to give another example of how a connection with the divine may transform our life? She said, in terms of listening to friends who are going through a bad time, that time this can allow us to be more receptive, maybe get inspiration to say some of the right words. These are most of the situations you don't have SOPs, no? How do I react? Most of the situations are out unpredictable. And then when they happen, if you are having a poise, you might actually get a link. Sometimes it will be God's link only. A friend of mine, she got cancer and she was spoken to some words and she stopped crying that time. And some relative came and said these were the exact words she had to hear from morning. Everybody's telling something else, including one very so-called wise uncle saying she got blood cancer because of eating idlis outside. What is the logic and how can anybody speak such insensitive statements at this particular time? This is what happens when we're not connected. We're disconnected or we're connected with lower forces of this lower forces create more depression only, isn't it? We will see in the Gita later on the game of forces which is at play in the world. There are Rajasic forces, there are Tamasic forces, there are Sattvic forces. You see Asuri Swabhava, Devi Swabhava, and this continues as a dynamic game at play. And in that game, we need a good connection. We need a connection directly with the divine. If we don't have that connection, we suffer. So that is why we have to reach that. So one of the simplest thing Krishna says is this: when you get free, you go into a state of samadhi. Yes, anybody would like to just give one example more because we our aim of this Gita talks, what we are having is for a practical approach in our life. Means connection with the divine. Say this highest state of, say you attain a samadhi state of connection with the divine. What will it make a difference in everyday life? Anybody? Anyone? One more example and we move ahead. Because Arjuna is ultimately having the same question. He says, oh, Samadhi? How does a person sit, walk, talk when Samadhi state? Yes, Shashiji, are you adding something, is it?
I think in our day-to-day lives, it helps us take.
That's it. Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
I
Shashiji,
think
Karthik ji will join
uh,
us. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that it, one looks at uh, everyday issues in a different way. Things that would normally irritate uh,
Ah,
I'm talking about me, things that would
yeah.
normally irritate me, some sound or somebody talking in the background. I just find that I'm a bit calmer. It is what it
Okay.
is. I don't have to
Okay.
let it in. I do
Okay.
find, I don't know whether it's to do with that or not, but I find the
So that is
mindset
going closer to the state of
changes.
poise. Absolutely. Yes, yes. So we're not having daily irritants. The irritants are not existent then. The person
Yeah.
will not be irritated at all. Nothing,
Yeah,
nothing can scare a person, nothing can disturb a person, nothing can irritate a person.
absolutely. Worst
Absolutely.
comes to
That is
worst.
poise.
Yeah, worst comes to worst. I just get up and move. Simple.
So we know the option. We find the simplest solution to prevent us from getting into
Yes.
further trouble. Yeah.
Instead of opening the mouth and then
Ah,
there is a verbal exchange,
yes.
it's either
Yes.
let go, let it ride, or just gently move away.
Okay. All right. All right. Yes. Karthik ji was adding something. Yes, sir. Thank you, Shashi ji. Yes, please. Yes, sir.
Yes, totally agree with. So I had a similar example. To add to that, you could probably say we've always told if you do not have anything nice to say, just keep quiet. So
Ah,
as things have progressed in life, you realize and you become more calm, and
you
you
become
you
calm.
tend you tend to think before you say something or react to a
That's
particular
actually more
situation.
efficient also, isn't it, sir? That makes
Absolutely.
things more efficient. It's
See,
like we said, it
earlier,
is only the calm that the divine works. Yes, sir. You
true,
were saying
true.
something earlier?
So earlier, like ma'am said, I also used to get like this place that I'm sitting in. It's next to a window, and there are a lot of kids who play downstairs.
Okay.
It becomes difficult to concentrate. So earlier, that used to be a big issue, and I used to find myself reacting and asking the kids to go somewhere else and play. But
Okay.
now I've learned to white noise the whole thing and focus, and it
Okay. Wow.
it,
Well,
it
that's
makes you more
really difficult.
calm and
Yes, sir.
focused on what you're doing.
Yes, yes. It's, I think that's such a beautiful aspect where you're not getting disturbed. Ah, ah, acha, you're playing. Okay, okay, bring all Bunty Bubbly, everybody come. Continue your voice. I'm not going to get disturbed because I've taken that decision. This makes a lot of
Once
difference.
you
Rashna,
take
do you
that
want to add
decision,
something?
sometimes
Yeah,
you're
Umaji.
so once you take that decision, you feel deaf. So even when
Yeah.
kids are playing, you don't realize that you're hearing the sound. Somebody on
Okay.
the phone tells us that what's the sound there. We actually
Yes.
don't even realize. Somebody else realizes
Yes.
that and
Ah,
asks us.
yes. And how are you so quiet? Give me your secret. Just like people ask what are beauty secrets, they all ask these questions like that. This is also a secret. How are you quiet? How did you manage? Then you can
Yeah.
slowly say, see, Bhagavad Gita, try reading it. I don't know if the person will be willing to read it. That's a different story altogether.
No, I'll ask them
But
to
I
attend
think
your
there's no
class.
harm.
Yeah.
No, no, my class is always all right. To let them read the book. That's something. Swami Hariji Maharaj used to do one thing. He would say, ask the question, have you read a Gita? Have you read the Gita? You'll get a rupee every time you ask this question, he would say. How is it? Because if that person has read the Gita, you'll have a beautiful conversation on the Gita with that person. If the person has not read, you have put the thought of the Gita inside of that person's head. Someday a day may come, maybe not now, 20 years, 30 years down the line, that thought might come in. So, anyway, yeah, that is true actually. And
Is
it
this
does,
stage a predestined one? A person who reaches the stage
yeah.
at whatever, maybe this birth, next birth, or 10 years later in this birth, when a
Hmm.
person reaches the stage, is that a predestined stage?
No, it is actually, see, there are certain factors which we call fate, no? Fate have certain deterministic factors in it. But fate does not have that much power to determine everything. That is why human birth is so important. There is a concept of free will also within a human being. This is like a tug of war between free will and fate taking place at all time. And destiny is ultimately the outcome of this tug of war. So when we are connected, they say like Prabhu ko niyam badalte dekha is one bhajan of Anup Jalota. The rules can also be bent by the divine. Means what is it? Which whatever. When somebody who is connected with the divine, that person gets that kind of ability to alter also. So everything is not. This will be a topic in actually the last part of the Gita, the fate and free will. There are factors. The Gita talks about them.
See,
But yes, this state is something which is a very high state to reach because it's very difficult to practice what it is worth. And Krishna has used the word samadhi. Now, samadhi is something we have very commonly known in Bharat. We keep saying the saint has taken samadhi. another person has taken samadhi, or the person has gone into what is generally it is after the person has left the body, especially in the case of awakened yogis, no? They consciously move into that last state. They move in such a way that it's not a frustrated cycle of anger or fight or something. They're going so beautifully and freely, like as if it's just a new journey. They're ready to move on. It's some kind of preparation that has been done in that state of quietude. That is called like a samadhi. It's Tukaram had said, "माझे मरण पाहिले म्या डोळा, काय वर्णू सोळा अनुपमा." I saw my death from my own eyes. What can I tell you about that brilliant celebration that was? It was. So for him, it appeared like that. So the last moments and all are very different for a yogi. And generally, we see that as a samadhi. We understand we go to samadhi. In Pondicherry, we have so many samadhis in Pondicherry of great yogis of various, we can say there is so many swamis, or they're all having what we call samadhis in different places. And there is also Sri Aurobido's Samadhi, the mother's Samadhi is there. That is all, these are all very special places. It's so powerful that no matter how frustrated you are, you go sit there, you become calm, you become quiet. That is the power of that Samadhi. And what is Krishna asking about, or what is he referring to? Is it something similar to that? Yes, it is something similar to that, but he is talking about a Samadhi in a conscious and dynamic state also, which can be reached. That is the final state which all yogis will ultimately, that is something which is a beautiful state of reaching. But even in life, you see, if you look at the life of so many yogis, you will see they're always in that state of poise, a tranquility, which is not disturbed by outer situations. That is what Krishna is talking about. Because immediately, yes, sir. Arvindji is saying something? Yes, sir.
Yeah. One becomes Sthita Pragya.
Sthita Pragnya. Yes. Absolutely. Sthita prajna, the prajna. What is that prajna? It is that awakened intelligence. The awakened intelligence, the higher intelligence. Like how Karthikji said, suddenly it's like, I don't need to get disturbed by this thing. That's all right. Let them do what they want. That's the higher intelligence. It works. Different moments in our life. We call it also Sat, Asat, Vivek, Buddhi. Somebody whose prajna is awakened, always this Vivek, Buddhi is Jagrat. He knows what is right and what is wrong. What is Shreyas? What is Preyas? What is necessary? What is not necessary? What is this emotion which is not required? Let me throw that out. That awakening is there inside of such a person. That is the Sthita Prajna. Arjuna immediately asked this question. What is this Samadhi? Who is this Sthita Prajna? What are the Lakshanas? Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha? What is the way? How do you give me a bhashya on who is a Sthita Prajna? How do I identify? How does this person, means if you look at the next shloka, he just says that Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha samadhisthasya keshava sthitadihi kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. He's very practical. Arjuna is perfect in implementation, but he wants to understand it right. So he asks like this. He says, Krishna, what is this state awakened? What are the indications and signs observed? How does a person in samadhi talk? How does he sit? How does he walk? Like, is he going to be like human? Is he going to levitate? Will he have two horns which will distinguish him from an ordinary human being? How do I understand this samadhi state or the sita prajna state? Or how do I see a sage who is different? How do I identify that person who's got an awakening? Will there be a ring above his head, a special halo, a light? Or I do not know what is it. Krishna, tell me. That is where Krishna tells how do you identify. 55 and 56 shlokas are beautifully explaining that. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Prajahati. The second adhyay, 55th shloka. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnas tadochyate. Arjuna, when a person gives up all desires that the mind conjures and aspires and is steady and immersed only in the self, such a person dwells in the state of the awakened self. Meaning you have to give up all your desires. Krishna says, such a person who has given up every desire. Meaning what? Every. This is so difficult, isn't it? I am human, so I'll have desires. Then you'll have karma bandhana. Then you'll have other troubles also. Then don't complain, why is this happening? Why am I not blissful? Well, if you want bliss, you have to go to it's a simple, easy equation. You want to experience the higher bliss of a complete life? Let go of desires. Little desires, no. Every दिल है छोटा सा छोटी सी आशा नहीं छोटी सी आशा बड़े बड़े गड्ढे में डाल देगी. We don't want to fall into the biggest pits because of small desires. I want one chocolate. ठीक है. Hey, your blood sugar levels are already 350, 380, 400. They're crossing. Well, one more chocolate will do what? It will create more trouble, isn't it? You have to control. You have to. This small desire doesn't make a difference at all. So it is so important that if you want, Krishna says, this awakened person, this person has given up every desire. Whatever, mind keeps playing games. Mind keeps trying to legitimize every desire. That is the special trick of the mind. No, they just want one small thing to be done. Sometimes people have a desire of somebody coming and scolding them also. Not only good desire. No, at least this. I want to do this. I want this to happen. I want. We can't really predict the mind, and we can't predict what desires people have. One person told me, I have the desire of being slapped. I mean, what is this? What kind of desire is this? It was something which was beyond my head. But this is the game of the mind, isn't it? The mind plays tricks. Mind keeps conjuring up desires like it's some kind of when everything is there. The richest man feels I want to experience how it is to be poor. And the poor man feels, hey Bhagavan, I want one day of being rich. But we don't know if you interchange places whether they will really be blissful or not. We still do not know. There's no guarantee because bliss will not come from outer material occurrences. Bliss comes from something higher, which is expressed sometimes in the material world, but the material world is an expression of that higher thing. If we lose connect with that, there's no use. Everything appears bland and tasteless. So this is a minimum requirement to give up all desires. That is the simplest thing. If we want to understand what is a samadhi, if we want to become a sage, Krishna is saying that. Let us look at the next shloka. Dukkheshvanuddvigna manaha sukheshu vigata spruhaha vitaraga bhayakrodhaha stita der muniruchyate. When one suffers not in times of distress and in happiness, exuberance one doesn't express. When you see someone free from anger and fear, it is clearly understood that a sage is near. How do you identify a sage is near you or how you are close to a sage? What is the lakshana? When you see someone not suffering in a time of distress, bad times come to whom? Everybody. In this world, there is nobody who has not experienced bad times. Our hero or our Aradhya Krishna also was born in bad time only, isn't it? Born in the jail. What more can you ask for a better? Can it be a worse time than that? Isn't it? But no, look at the yogi. He was laughing there also. Afterwards, also Krishna is example from childhood, from his first day is an example for all of us. That is why we worship Krishna so much. It's not just because of beauty and other aspects. Yes, that is why we adore him. But we worship him for his actions, for his way he has lived. So if you see a person not suffering in the time of distress and in happiness, exuberance one doesn't express, meaning overly happy, so happy, and expressing that happiness outside. It's like how a baby celebrates the birthday. My cake, my cake. The baby keeps jumping up and down like there's a spring under both the legs. And in that uncontrolled excitement, one hand hits the same cake and it falls down. And that smiley becomes upside down in 1 second. What has happened here? or like athletes celebrating their victory. It happened again. An Indian athlete in World Games, he came second because he was celebrating just a few moments before his victory, and he lost it in that one moment. It cost him. What was that? That exuberance was not required in that particular moment, isn't it? Or sometimes we like a favorite dish and we eat it in a hurry, and then we look at the empty plate and feel bad. It's over already. What happened? Where did it go? Well, we didn't enjoy the taste at that each and every. Then you try to go back to that hotel, ask that cook to make the same dish again. Either the cook changes or the cook has some fight with somebody inside, so you don't get that taste. And you are again longing for that one moment. Where will it come again? Well, you don't have to go there everywhere searching for those moments, but when the moment comes, the moment of joy comes to you, you must learn to experience that. Otherwise, people can be most sorrowful when their dreams of their life come true also. They want something to happen. They aspire for it. They take efforts for manifesting it also. But after that happens, instead of the joy and bliss that comes after a manifestation of a dream, there's only sorrow and tears. Because of what? Well, something is there which is missing. And that has to be clearly understood. That has to be fully realized. So suffer not in a distressful time. Instead, take it with a smile. That is sadhana. So take it with a smile. Krishna says, in happiness, exuberance, one doesn't express. When you see someone free from both anger and fear, anger about something, losing something, fear about something again unknown, well, all these emotions, when you see someone free from it, you can see a sage is near. But somebody may say Krishna was also angry once. He had lifted the wheel. Yes or no? In the Mahabharata, there is a scene, isn't it? So in that work, there is a particular there's a famous painting also of Krishna standing in the middle of the battle. He has a wheel in his hand, and that Chakradhara is actually holding a chakra, which is not a Sudarshan chakra, but a wheel of a chariot, and aiming it at whom? At Pitama Bhishma. And here Pitama Bhishma only appears like Sita. He's dropped his weapons. He says, "Okay, Krishna." So what was that anger? No, that was different. That was not, that was something else. We can say a sattvic understanding. Means anger does not, anger it is when it consumes you, no? When you are consumed by anger. When a teacher is telling a student, this is wrong, don't you do this. You will be punished for doing this. It's not just anger all the time. It is sometimes a aspect for correction also. Right, Reshnaji wants to add something. Yes, please.
Yes, anger should not be completely let go. And it's not like, even when you're angry, it can be, like you said, like it has to be like followed like a role that you are doing.
Yeah.
In fact, even in Lalita Sahasranam, it says the same thing. Nishkrodha Krodha Shamani. So it's control, but it's not completely, you can't leave it, because that thing can be used. It is a tool. It is not
Yeah.
something that should consume you if you use it in the correct way and at the correct time.
Yes,
It's
at a
important.
place, time, it has its value, isn't it? That is
Yes, it
required.
has it. Yeah.
Look at what is happening right now in Bharat, in the crown of Bharat. We are all enough, is enough. We have stood up, but we've not gone out just out of control. It is not just some random movement, it is a controlled one. So, the way of a sage is what Krishna is saying. When one suffers not in times of distress, happiness, exuberance, one doesn't express. When you see someone free from both anger and fear, it is clearly understood a sage is near. Now, we'll conclude with this today, but the question is, do we want to become sages? I'm not a sage. That's a very common dialogue. We hear it in so many. I'm not a saint. We're not going to be saints. That is what everybody says. Whether it's a businessman or a non-businessman, everywhere. Because almost saints have all been, what we can say, badnaam only. All saints have been wrongly, they have a wrong reputation, isn't it? But do we want to become sages? Do we all have to be sages? That's the big question. Is it necessary or not? Anybody? Does Krishna want it? Do we want it more than whether Krishna wants or not? First, we have to recognize, do we want to? Do we want to become a sage?
It's not about wanting or not wanting. When you
Really,
come
I'm
to a
asking
certain
actually,
point,
it is about wanting. I means my question is about wanting, Ji. Means do you want to?
it's a matter of there. If it's a choice,
Yeah.
then yes. If it's if you're asking about a choice, then it's very personal, and I think it comes. We all feel that it's a choice, but
No, it's like
ultimately,
if it is a yes or no question kind of thing. Because so many people I know is like, I don't want to be a sage. Most of my friends, no, we don't want to become that. I've heard no most often. But since we're reading the Gita, do you think it should be a yes?
yes.
Yes. Okay. So I think two people have said yes. Anybody else?
I think wanting something doesn't necessarily mean you'll get it. It could
Huh,
be a waste of
aspiring,
energy.
aspiring. If you reach that state, it will come. Like Sthita Prajna state or Samadhi state is something which should we aspire is my question. Should we aspire to reach that? Should we
Yes,
aspire to become a sage?
Absolutely.
yes.
Yeah.
Because that is why probably our aim of sadhana, that is the reason we study the Gita, we try to understand Krishna because probably we have to go there. And Krishna also wants that from us because he says to Arjuna, Tasmad yogi bhava Arjuna. Arjuna, it is a yogi that I want you to be. And what is this yogi going to do? Arjuna yoga classes in the middle of Kurukshetra. The Dhyana Kendra, Arjuna Dhyana Kendra. What is he going to do? He is going to be a warrior. He is going to be, like you see, Tasmat Yuddhasva Bharata. Right now, Krishna's words are only being echoed in Bharat. Yuddhasva, rise, rise and fight. So, whichever kshetra we may be in, whichever, there are so many kshetras, so many fields. But when we become yogi, we become the best version. Yogi is the one who is in yoga. Yog means union. Union is what? Union is union with the divine. It is that divine connection, the Krishna connection. Somebody may say, don't call it Krishna connection, call it Shiva connection. Whichever connection we want to call it, it's okay. Wi-Fi name can be changed. No, the strength of the Wi-Fi is important. It is that connection that we have to establish. If we aspire for it, then we will automatically, we will not need to be bound by certain rules. A self-discipline will naturally come in. You will only establish for yourself कि yes, अभी तो साधना करना ही है. I have to become Krishna's yogi. I want to become the yogi which Krishna wants. I want to become the instrument of the divine. So this wanting is so important. This is not a desire but an aspiration. Because without the aspiration, growth cannot happen. Without aspiration, there is stagnation only. No evolution will take place. So this is the aspiration Krishna keeps in front of all of us that yes, you have to become yogi, you have to become this. Because when we do that, whichever kshetra we may in, means there is one kshetrajna, whichever kshetra we go in, one vidhata, one bharata, agya vidhata of every, the jana gana mana, every place. There is one vidhata, it is the divine only. And so that divine is to be recognized as our guide or that divine, we have to surrender completely and aspire to become yogis. First step, Krishna tells in the Gita, towards becoming yogis is to cultivate the poise at all times. Poise is different from indifference. Poise is not indifference. Poise is not becoming like a stone. That is the best example Krishna can give is Arjuna only for all of us. Means if we want to become like Krishna, first we will have to become like Arjuna only. Awakened, ready to fight. Because afterwards, the duty has to be done. Somebody may have a duty to pick up a weapon. Somebody may have a duty to write a poem. Somebody may have a duty to just speak a kind word also. Whatever the duty may be, we'll have to be connected and we'll have to go into that state. So the samadhi bhavana has to come into us. If we do not get that, then probably we are not moving ahead. So with this, I think today's session we can conclude, because the question was about who is a sage and do we become sage? Yes, we saw who a sage is, but more importantly, I think we should all aspire to become the sage that Krishna wants. We could all become that, whatever we wish to, if the aspiration is right and it is coupled with our karma also. Everybody, Vishwamitra, Vishwasya Mitra, friend of all, harmony everywhere. How nice it would be. And everybody wants such a friend. Everybody wants someone who is like that. I think we would become the Wiccans, which is very much a possibility in our life. There is no other factor which prevents us except ourselves. So I think with this we can probably draw a conclusion for today's session. If anybody wants to ask or share something, you're welcome, or I request Chitraji to give a summary, after which we conclude.
I just
Yes, sir.
wanted to say when you said, to connect with the
Yes, ji.
divine. So, and you talked about the kshetra. Everybody
Yeah,
has their own. So, daily life is a battle.
yeah,
So, having a link or trying to create a link and making a link, connecting with God, with Lord
yeah,
Krishna, then he would be our daily um, guide,
yeah,
so to speak. So, for me, it's a daily life, not the whole life, but things that happen. Um, it's not an ordinary life. I mean, there are things that one has, like it could be anything, it could be property, it could be
okay,
people. Then having it's very, very difficult when it comes to property. If you know what I mean, people
yeah,
fighting over property or whatever, then
yeah,
that's a very difficult time where like you use the word poise,
yeah,
but a sort of calmness is needed so that you don't get pulled in other directions.
yes,
And whether you
yes,
win or lose, it will have been the right thing ultimately. And if it wasn't, it doesn't matter because you've said karma.
yeah.
Maybe it's
Okay,
my karma to lose this time, or maybe it's somebody's karma to gain things
yeah,
in,
yes. But Shashiji, just one
properly.
thing. Yeah, yeah, just one thing in relation to the property, because you see, Kurukshetra is also big property battle only between brothers.
Precisely,
Yeah, and
absolutely,
a lot of participants of Gita Vargas also, they have just called to talk about the same. It's almost in every home a Kurukshetra is going on over property. Almost
absolutely,
every home, a
absolutely,
legal battle is taking place, and the good ones are the ones who are silent and saying, "Oh, I don't need. God will take care." But after reading the Gita, they have decided to take a stand. Instead of walking out like Arjuna does, no, many times, no, 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 it's not my, no, this is the right, for the right, I will stand. But when I stand, I will not do adharma. When I stand for it, I'll follow ethical right means and correction. That connection also comes. Help has come. They have found great strategists. Unknown people suddenly become the best lawyers. Sometimes the most troublesome person only becomes the great guide in giving some information which is not required. In a fit of anger, somebody speaks, gives. So many of them, like one particular retired, a retired customs department official. She became, I think, superintendent also, or maybe assistant commissioner later on afterwards. But she was taken for so much for granted that there was like property battles. She would just pull herself out. I don't care. I don't want. I don't want. Suddenly, after reading the Gita, she said, "This is wrong. This is wrong to pull myself out of it without where the right is there. Whether or not my children also have said they don't want it, but it is not right to let go and allow something wrong to happen. Because you see, in our many times money has been called as a source of evil. Money is not the source of evil. Money, wealth, property, all these are not source of evil. It's our attachment to that. Many times, a lot of good people have just become danis. No, no, I will give it. I'll give it. And who are you giving it? You're giving it to asuras. Will Goddess Lakshmi be happy? Her force, her manifestation is wealth, isn't it? Why should it go into wrong hands? So instead of that, you have to take your stance. So for that, again, as I think Shashiji said, that poise is so essential. Poise is essential so that you are able to see clearly whether it is a desire, whether it is a greed, whether it is a rightful need of the moment. All these factors, and they keep so dynamic. It is like every day. And truly, Kurukshetras are occurring everywhere, every time. Then, where is going to be the victory of truth? Well, where there is Krishna and where there is Arjuna, to listen to that Krishna. If you see the last shloka of the Gita, it says there only. Even the opponent is telling that. Sanjay, though on the Kauravan side, he happily declares, he says, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Tatra Partha Dhanurdhara. Wherever the two of them are there, no. There is going to be victory of the divine only. Sri Vijaya, the victory of the divinity. So what? Krishna is everywhere. Problem is Arjuna is not everywhere willing to listen. अर्जुन ऐसे हैं अभी नहीं कल देखते हैं अरे युद्ध तो आज चल रहा है नहीं टाइम नहीं है इज द प्रॉब्लम अर्जुन मॉडर्न डेज अर्जुना इज नॉट लाइक द एंशियंट अर्जुना not willing to listen to Krishna. So probably in all of these battles also, we form the connection, we will receive the guidance. And when the guidance is there, victory of righteousness does take place. That is why our world is still standing and running. It is not in chaos. There is this righteousness which is still a part of our Vishwa, our Bhuloka, and we have to join that. We have to join that side. That is one alliance only, which is the alliance of Satya. It appears to be crowded and overcome by Kauravan forces who are always so much more in number, sometimes appearing brute. The might looks so much more than this other side. But if you are conscious and you are connected, numbers don't matter at all. So yes, please. Thank you for that addition, Shashiji. I request Chitraji to complete our session. Yes, please. Yes, Ji.
Hari Om. So today we started looking at what is the state of samadhi. So it is an awakened state where the person is untouched or unshaken by the disturbances. It can be both internal or external conflicts, no longer disturb such a person. And this awakened state allows one towards a union with the divine. So the consciousness of the divine works through such a person, and he is fully an instrument of the divine. And such a person is also conscious in every action that he performs. And one gets to hear that ideals cannot be used in all times, and especially in a practical world, etc. But a yogi does not see this differentiation and sees every action to be performed as a divine work. And then we saw Krishna explaining who is a Sthita Pragna, or who can be called as or identified as a sage. Krishna explains that he is an illumined person where the mind is desireless, firm, and single minded thoughts and targeted actions are performed, and he is not swayed by emotions. He is fearless and does not suffer in tough times. And his whole aspiration is towards attaining the union with the divine and becoming his instrument. So, this is something that we saw today.
All right. Thank you very much, Ji. Let us now conclude with a Shanti mantra. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyit dukkha bhag bhavet. Hari Om Tat Sat. Krishna Mande Jagat Gurum. Hari Om. Punar Milama.
I have a doubt. Sorry.
Yes, yeah, just one more thing before we go to that doubt. Next Monday and Wednesday, our session may not be conducted because we have to travel for giving a talk on the Gita. Myself and also Chitraji is giving a talk on floral meditations with the mother. So those two sessions will have to be rescheduled. We'll just once we get an idea of our itinerary, we'll give the best time as soon as we can. Yes, please. So regretting the inconvenience. Yes, Umaji, you were saying something. Yes, please.
Yeah, we were talking about the property thing that Shashiji was just mentioning.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
in a different class, what I was taught was if you go after ancestral property, for example, if it's an
yeah,
ancestral
yes,
property,
yes.
so there is something called as ancestral curses that come to us, and we are
Yeah.
suffering probably because of ancestral curses. If we are suffering in this life, say we have
No,
constant
big,
relation.
yeah, means just that we cannot verify exactly, so we will not be able to tell like whether the suffering is exactly because of
Huh.
ancestral curse. That
Okay,
will not be able to be verified though.
right.
Yeah.
No, so what we're saying is, so if somebody has a real tough life throughout, and for example, through maybe a tantric or astrology or whatever, it's established that it is an ancestral curse, for example, right?
Hmm.
And then you go ahead and try and fight and get your ancestral property,
Through
which
the
means
curse, through another tantric.
no, 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 through the
Ha.
law, through law,
Okay. Yeah.
you have
Okay.
got your share of ancestral property. So I what I was taught was you get the vasanas that your ancestors were carrying. So
No.
that
Okay.
makes the future generations also continue suffering what you are suffering. You're
Yeah.
just
No.
carrying
Yeah.
the
Okay.
vasanas
Okay,
of your.
Umaji. Okay, Umaji. So, means there are two dimensions to that. One is if you look at because these are all things which are not quantifiable. So when we are trying to, when it's like many times what we think we manifest. Many times. That's one difficulty we have. And it's like, you see, in the very first adhyaya, Arjuna talked about ancestral curses. He talked about ancestral curses running through families, running and destroying families, causing tragedies, all of that. But that was not really something Krishna ever talked about in the entire Gita. He's not denying a aspect of rebirth and everything. But these are all what prarabdha is something which, if you have a control, you get a logic, you get that higher awakening, that's a different aspect. That time you work when you have the rules of the game, when you are a player in that field. When you are not a player in that field, like for instance, I have no idea what I was doing in my previous birth. I do not, frankly, at this moment, I don't care because I was not human or I was not a human also. My grandmother had once told me if you yawn and while you're eating breakfast, you will become a pig. And I yawned so many times, I thought I'm 100% going to become a pig the next birth. But then afterwards, Gita kind of told that yes, there's no regression in the path of evolution if you are conscious. So this is one aspect to it. And the second is if you see why people say not to, because what happens many times, it comes as a lust for the wealth comes in, like adhikara. This is mine, that me, mine feeling comes in. It creates whether or not, whether it's rightfully yours or rightfully not, that's a different aspect. That will be decided by the court at in its due time. Higher than the court of the law is the court of the divine, which is even higher than the court of the law. We do not understand sometimes something is taken away unrightfully, and still later on it turns out to be good, it was taken away. So that is the divine's game which is playing. But why probably people say don't go after that wealth is like they carry many times new Kurukshetras are just after desires. In the Manache Shloka of Sant this Ramdas Swami, Samartha Ramdas Swami says, Nakore mana dravyate pudhilanche. You don't need the wealth. Like for instance, me and my sister, we've decided we don't want a penny from our parents. It's not that it's going to because of the vasanas or it's because of this or we want to walk on this particular path. But at the same time, if my parents are blessing and giving me something, I'll not say, hey, I don't want from you. That's another rejection of side. So it all matters to the individual actually. It is like a matter of individual. And if it is you right, it is required, it is needed, and if it is something which you feel it is worth fighting, you fight. But do not enter into a state of, if you allow other aspects, you lose your poise, then you are inviting vasanas. Means 100 people in the world can curse you. Say, Prime Minister of India is getting cursed every second, no? Inside of
Correct.
India also, outside of India also. How many people have done yajnas also? How many have called upon tantrics also? How many have called so many? Then what is happening? Is he got some super impregnable kavach? Yes. That is so powerful that it will bounce back. And when your karmas are strong, when you are yourself. See, when a yogi has surrendered completely to the divine, now the divine equation comes into play. The one who throws a curse at a person who is completely surrendered to the divine, the person who is having the poison of hate, no, that person is only going to be poisoned. We don't have to worry about any of that, because this, if we allow and we try, and then I'm trying to do this, but I'm countering. You slipped and fell. Why did you slip and fall? Because of somebody's. It's nothing. It's not to be thought of. Also, it's all right. I slipped and fell because I was not conscious. I was not conscious at that moment. God had probably given me a chance to be conscious. I missed that because my attention was elsewhere. Let me become conscious. Let me focus at that particular point, because these are all other factors which we are, at least from my point of view, I am saying that, because these are all factors which not really fully in control of a human being. Not fully. It is the divine. You have the connection of the divine, then anything. What by even Sakala Siddhis will come to you. You don't have to do any specific upasana also. When the divine wishes and you are following the path of the divine with full sincerity, nothing to worry. जैसे जाको राखे साया मार सके ना कोई, it's a very powerful statement actually. When God be for you, who can be against you? Simple statement. It was there in my school, Patrick's school, St. Patrick's school. There is on the board above that, if God be for us, who can be against us? Simple as that. Means there are so many bhajans also. कौन बिगाड़ करे तेरो जब जानकी नाथ सहाय करे. All the grahas names are taken. All the grahas names are taken. If these grahas are in a different position, Shani is also retrograde. Mangal is also in a very bad position, Vakri state. All of these are working against you. Who will trouble you? These grahas are also somebody who is sitting on top of them, no? He is moving them also. He is moving them. Your bigger issues might suddenly be swallowed by the divine without your knowledge at all. So, this aspect regarding property, if there is a property which is rightfully yours, stand up. It's nothing wrong to stand up and ask what is yours. Like Pandavas also, they said, give me 5 villages. I'm not asking for more. Give me 5 villages. Give us 5 villages. You have the entire empire, because I have to do my dharma for upholding my swa. It is my swadharma. The swadharma given to me by my parents. I have to do that. So I am standing for it rightfully. But even Krishna went and just that's what he asked for on behalf of the Pandavas. He said, "Oh Duryodhana, there is no need to enter into a battle. Just give them 5 villages." He said, if they are Kshatriya, they have the Kshatra Bala, let them come and claim it." Whatever may be the dialogue he uttered, it was implying the same thing. And then what did it lead? Led to demise of Duryodhana only, isn't it? And did they get their 5 villages? Yeah, they got more than 5 villages actually. They got much more. It was the divine arrangement. It was not something but they did stand for it. So standing up is important. And while standing for, if you know your cause is right, I don't think we need to worry about the other aspects. We don't have to, if our heart and conscience is clear, no problem. All will disappear, everything else. Yes, Ji. All right, yes.
Thank
Hari Om.
you. Haribo.
Namaste, Ji. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hare Krishna.
Hari Om.
Hari
Hari Om.
Om.
Namaste.
Sushrut
Namaste.
Hari
Badhe.
Om.
Thank
Hari
you.
Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.